Rated T for teen.
Each year, thousands of adults lose their shred. It's an epidemic simply known as shred loss. But it doesn't have to be this way. Because rekindling your shred is as easy as playing the new Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4. And with new parks, cross-platform multiplayer, and sick new game modes, we can put an end to shred loss everywhere. Get the new Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 and show the world that the shred's not dead. Pre-order Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 and play the Foundry demo.
Psst, your payments are showing. But with Apple Cash, your payments are private by design. There are no public feeds. Send and receive money privately, in messages or with Tap to Cash. Switch to Apple Cash. Apple Cash services are provided by Green Dot Bank, member FDIC.
Unfiltered discussions. Unexpected guests. No topic is off limits, from sex and relationships to the human condition, personal anxieties, and so much more. The only talk show of its kind in the world. This is The Last Show with David Cooper.
Hello and welcome, listeners in Canada. I hope you're enjoying Canada Day today. Thanks for joining us. Tonight's lineup is going to be a very good one. I say that every night, but tonight I especially mean it. On tonight's program, the science of forgiving and forgetting. Neuroscientists have attached things to people's brains. Who forgive? Does it erase the memory of what happened? No, but it changes it. It changes how we feel about it, from petty grudges to major wrongs. What shifts in your brain at a neurochemical, molecular, whatever level when you forgive someone and you move on? That halfway through the hour. Then things are going to get sexy on the show tonight. What do you have in your bedside table? I'm not talking about a tangle of cords or old tax forms you probably should have submitted. I'm talking what racy items are in there. We'll unpack that next hour. That is just some of tonight's program, a small cross-section. We got more coming up for you. I'll tell you about it later in the show. Let's dive in, though, shall we?
Want to be part of The Last Show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
It is The Last Show. I am David Cooper. We are joined by correspondent du Foreign, Tony 5 in London, England. Tony 5, welcome.
He's square, he's there, and he doesn't care. It's me. Hello, David. Hello, world. How are we today?
I am good. Billy, don't lose my number, because you're not anywhere that I can find you. I have a new favorite Phil Collins song, Tony.
Love a bit of Phil Collins. Do you know, he is like one of the most famous drummers in the world.
I did. I was talking about Phil Collins with my girlfriend the other day. Side note, my brother told me he used to be a bass player as a kid.
Right.
He as a kid said he wanted to be in a Phil Collins cover band with Phil Collins in it when people asked him what he wanted to be when he grew up.
Brilliant.
Which is very funny to me.
I like the fact that he wanted to do it with the man who inspired him.
Yeah. So I guess he wouldn't be playing the drums or singing. Maybe he'd be just playing, I don't know, bass. But Phil Collins, he'd be there in the background, one of the supporting cast. I suppose my brother would be the one on the drums singing. But Phil Collins would be there.
Like, do you do the thing, like, what sometimes I have a real thing about people being the best at what they can be. So, like, let's just say you're a trash man. But if you're the best trash man in the world, there's something about that eliteness, being the best of the best of the best. Now, and I sometimes go on these, like, wild rabbit hunts about, you know, like, the best drummers in the world or the best guitarists, like Jimi Hendrix and things like that. And the best. And, you know, like, when they come together, there's this famous, I want to say the Grammys, but I could be wrong, where Prince and all of these famous guitarists do this sort of guitar solo, and he comes along and he absolutely smashes it. I mean, it's like embarrassing for everybody else. He makes this guitar cry, basically, and it's his famous thing, and apparently is that where he showed his greatness. And I love things like that, and Phil Collins being a drummer is kind of like that. And there's another guy, I don't know what his name is he in Guns N' Roses? Slash Axl Rose? Yeah, and he plays it as well. But like, who's your, like, if you had to get the mega group, the David Cooper mega group, right? So lead singer, go.
Oh man, lead singer? Who's my favorite? Maybe Bono.
Okay.
I mean, it's not that I love Bono, but Bono's just a great like power group singer,
Lead.
you know?
Okay, guitarist.
Oh man, favorite guitar.
Come on.
Like rock and roll guitarist?
It doesn't matter. This is the David super group.
I don't even like Van Halen that much, but I feel like if we're doing the super group with like a best of everyone, it would probably be Van Halen. Side note, Van Halen's solo on Michael Jackson's Beat It.
Yes.
Van Halen played guitar on the track Beat It is maybe the best pop like rock and roll solo I've ever heard.
Wow. Even better than someone like the Eagles?
Yeah, to me, I like a bit of hard rock in my. If I'm thinking of like platonic ideal of rock and roll, I like a little bit of hard rock.
All right, female vocalist, young man.
Oh, I guess it would have to be Stevie Nicks.
I could have guessed you would have said somebody from like Fleetwood Mac. I would have said definitely.
I don't even love all these musicians I'm picking. I just think they're the best example of like what they do.
Okay, so we've got drummer. Obviously, your brother.
Oh, yeah, my brother. Maybe Stuart Copeland from The Police.
Yep, Copeland. Okay, so we've got drummer, guitarist.
And then Phil Collins would be in the background because it's a Phil Collins cover band. Maybe he'd be on the triangle.
It's a Phil Collins cover band on Triangle, of course. And is there anybody else in the band? Who else plays stuff in the band?
Side note, I was talking about Phil Collins with my girlfriend, and I'm like, he's a great drummer. And she's like, what? He's a drummer? I'm like, yeah, of course. She's like, how could he sing? I'm like, with a microphone?
Wow.
She loves Phil Collins, but she didn't know that he was the drummer on all those tracks, which is so funny to me.
It's really sad to see him now. I mean, his age, and he's developed a lot of sort of problems with his wrist, so he can't play anymore. But what he has left for music is his wonderfully beautiful daughter, Lily Collins.
I don't even know about her.
She is stunning. Google her.
Lily Collins. Okay, Lily Collins.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, I love her.
American. Oh, wow. Okay, American actress. Wow. Great.
Yeah, I love her.
She's
lovely.
A person.
So that's your band, the Super Cooper David Troopers.
What's the Super Tony Trooper Tony?
So I would have my friend Brian on the flute. I would have my mum making. Remember when you came round? She made them spring rolls for you. Do you remember that?
Yeah, she would be at the concession stand.
Spring rolls, and she made you like a nice cup of tea. I'd have her. I'd have obviously your brother, because if there's no group without a Cooper brother. Yeah,
yep. Yeah, and he's the obvious choice there.
Female vocalist. Do you remember the girl from Evanescence? How could you my heart?
Is there a Grammy for best aside singing on radio show? Because you might have just won it.
David, you know I'm not. I'm always one to welcome an award, and I would welcome that award. So her, male. Oh, I don't like Bono. 2, because of the name.
So Phil Collins, kind of a shadow of his younger self, but that's what happens when you age. I mean, it's not sad. It's a part of life. He had a great career, and now he's slowing down a bit. What's the big deal? I
have difficulty with change, with aging. I'm a real time denier, David.
Yeah. Doesn't believe in time. Doesn't believe in what else?
But weirdly has a fascination with watches.
Oh, do you?
I do, yeah. Lots of clocks and watches and stuff like that.
Why do you like watches so much?
I don't know. I just... I don't think it's an extension of my personality. I just like the meticulous nature of how they're built. I like the intricacy. I like to see open case backs so that I can sometimes just sit when I'm having dinner and just look at the back of my watch and see them all move and stuff.
You're currently wearing 2 watches, one on the left and one on the right hand.
You never noticed that? I've always worn that for like the last 20 years.
I don't like watches because they're such a weird little indicator of class.
You said that, and then you always point out that you've got a Casio that's like $5. Yeah.
I love my Casio. And when my luggage got stolen on vacation in Spain recently, they stole my Casio. Yeah, I know. It's a $10 replacement right there.
Are you joking?
I liked that Casio, but whatever.
I'm going to get you one. That's going to be my gift back to you.
There's many different color options and band styles, and I'm very particular. So if you get me the wrong one, I may never wear it, but they are only $10, so it won't be the biggest, yeah.
Right, but you can send me the combo, because they do like the gold frame, the silver frame, the standard. Now they've got solar powered. Now they're a classic, what do you call it? A modern classic now.
Anyway, I don't like watches because people just like, there's a certain group of dude that like looks at your watch, sees how fancy it is, and decides things about you, similar to your shoes or the label on your suit.
Yep.
And I hate that. I hate that people function that way. When we come back, we will give ourselves advice from yesterday for today. It's a very easy to understand thing we do on this show. We play advice that we recorded yesterday for today, talking to our past selves. And if you have advice for your yesterday self, please do call us and record it. We'll have you on the show. The number coming up right now. I'm here with Tony 5, foreign correspondent. More of him in a moment.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
Hi, welcome to IKEA.
This is my college campus.
Correct, but I see you're on IKEA.com ordering some college items.
My daughter's room is pretty bare. We need a lamp, some comfy pillows, her favorite stuffy.
Dad!
With pickup options, we've got what you need to conveniently order IKEA. Literally anywhere.
Sweet. More time for gaming.
And studying. Wait, where are you going now?
Got to show the ultimate Frisbee team how easy it is to order from IKEA. Get IKEA whenever, wherever, however you want. Choose from thousands of pickup locations, affordable delivery options, and more.
Advice for your tomorrow self from yesterday, or maybe from today for tomorrow. If you're confused, you're not alone. This is what happens on the last show with David Cooper and Tony 5.
Tony 5 here for advice from your yesterday self for today, tomorrow, or whatever. The concept of this is very simple. We record some advice in the past. We use a time machine to play that advice today, thereby speaking with our past selves. And if you want to participate in this, give us a call. Record your advice. We'll call you back, follow up. We'll see if you followed it in the future. You can talk to your past self. The number 1-888-505-6644. 1-888-505-6644. Tony 5, welcome in, my friend.
David, it's always a pleasure to record these things yesterday for today that we're going to play tomorrow. I think it's a very simple concept. I don't know why people are emailing us saying they don't understand.
I don't know why our boss says this is confusing. Please stop doing it. I don't know why people are emailing saying please stop doing it. It's so simple.
I don't know why our boss texts us saying, I'm not your boss. Stop texting me.
I don't know why the radio station says, why are you emailing us? We don't know who you are.
Yeah, it's just like one of these things, isn't it, that happens to us. It's weird.
It certainly is. Tony, here, we're going to connect you via our time machine to your yesterday self. It's not just something you recorded from yesterday. This is actually you yesterday, live, today.
Okay.
Probably.
Hello, Tony. This is Tony. I'm recording this today to be played tomorrow. Which will be yesterday when I'm playing it, and it will be today when you're listening to it. All very straightforward and simple. Today's advice for tomorrow's self, for today, for yesterday, which I'm going to play today, is what always David is to be kind to myself. I had my first job yesterday and actually went much better than I actually thought it would. And I'm feeling a bit fragile about it, weirdly. I thought, oh God, I was worried about it. But actually, it went all right. So I think today is a little bit about giving myself a bit of time and actually not jumping into everything so quickly, because it's very easy for me to jump into everything and go from 0 to 100 miles an hour. But yeah. Oh, look, there's a squirrel. Anyway, that was the thing. Bye.
Oh, look, there's the squirrel.
There was a squirrel that walked past me yesterday, and I was like, wow, look at that. It was a black squirrel as well. Now, fun fact, black squirrels are only available or indigenous in Letchworth Garden City, which is where I live, just outside of London.
Not true at all. There's black squirrels all over where I grew up in Canada.
Lies. They've come from Letchworth and they've ended up in Canada.
I doubt that.
Google it.
Maybe in the UK they're only where in Letchworth, UK, but in Canada,
yes,
all over North America, there's black squirrels.
Are you sure it's not just dark when you see them? Because these are actually genuinely black.
Yes. So yes.
How do you know?
I've seen them with mine own eyes.
Have you seen them next to a brown squirrel so you know they're black? Because it can be very confusing.
I don't know.
Threw you there, innit?
My friend once saw an albino white squirrel and took a photo of it.
Racist, but okay.
Back to your advice, don't be too hard on yourself. I remember back in 2013 when I was first getting divorced, I had like bipolar disorder. I was not doing well.
No.
And I was having mood swings, manic mood swings, depressive mood swings. I was doing rough.
Okay.
I got on medication. I started seeing a psychiatrist. I started doing better. And then every time I got upset in therapy or outside of therapy and started crying, I was very quick to like pathologize. This is my therapist's words. I was very quick to say, oh, I'm unwell again.
Okay.
And my therapist always said, you're entitled to your moods. You're entitled to your anxieties. You're entitled to your fears, even if they seem extreme. Don't over pathologize. Don't think that you're like mentally unwell because of a bad day. Tony, you didn't work for 7 months. Having a little bit of anxiety, fear that it won't go well, not doing so great, that's a normal thing anyone would experience. But you having just had a 7-month depressive episode that was like medically serious, my advice to you is the same advice for my shrink then. Don't over pathologize regular fears, anxieties. Don't just think, oh, I'm nervous about the new job, therefore I'm unwell again. That's a normal thing to have happened to you.
I felt like that when we started recording again, and that was 6-7 weeks ago, and then obviously fallen back into it. It sounds as god awful as it did before, so I'm great. and like obviously now, it's different. But I just wanted to carry on the subject of obviously our
squirrels?
Today's advice self for tomorrow for yesterday.
Oh no, it's something else.
Obviously, we have a wonderful boss who we report to every week, and he's fantastic. And he wants us to come up with more. I can't remember what you called it. Segments, stations.
Yes, more like concepts, like advice from your yesterday self, or
David.
what we did yesterday, live from the Lonely Pole, where we call people who put up flyers on poles. Yeah,
exactly, David. I have come up with the most wonderful thing. I would like our listener, as you might want to call them, to send in images, pictures on WhatsApp or on email of where they are, something beautiful where they are, with their name and location, and I will guess where they are.
Anywhere on the earth.
Yes. So if you are listening, get your camera phone out, if they still call camera phones, your iPhone 4, 5 or 6, anyone with a camera, or if you're Android one, we'll send you some money because we know what it's like. And send us a picture of where you are, somewhere nice, and if you add on to the bottom of the message your name and location, I will guess where you are.
All right, email your photos to tony@lastshow.pizza. That's tony@lastshow.pizza, not .com. Wherever you are, he will guess where you are. I don't know this is going to work well on radio.
Well, I will describe the image, and as long as they put down their name and their location of where they are, I will guess correctly where they are.
You are such an idiot. I love it. Back to the serious part of the show. Yeah, when I say pathologize, I mean like treat any mood of the day as a medical issue, as, oh, I'm unwell.
Yeah, I guess I still feel a bit fragile because of the nature of how I got ill and how I recovered, it being a very quick ramp in and a quick ramp out. I kind of think, is today to be the day that it happens again? And like, I'm not living in the moment as much. So as much as I enjoy this show, and then we organize, maybe, you're going to be on live tomorrow night and live on the next night and live on in 2 weeks. I try not, I want to think, okay, well, I'll be here in a couple of weeks, or I'll be here in whenever, and then I think, oh God, but what if I'm ill around Thanksgiving, or what if and you can't, right? You can't think like that because it's just such a...
If you're ill around Thanksgiving, you're ill around Thanksgiving. You got through it once, you'll get through it again, but if you worry about it every day, you're going to do yourself a disservice.
Correct, yeah, and I think that's I just have to overcome that. But I think I'm seeing a counsellor tomorrow, a new therapist. So I will talk to you about that post-session.
All right, here's my advice for my yesterday self for today, tomorrow, whatever. That's the sound of you chewing your nicotine gum, David. It is the summertime. It is hot. It is 30 degrees Celsius or 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit here in New York, and your hygiene leaves something to be desired, which is fine-ish in the winter, showering once every 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. But in the summer, you got to be showering more. So your advice for your today's self from yesterday, I think, is to shower more. Hygiene. People value it. You should too.
Yeah. Do you smell? Do you smell bad?
I mean, I haven't had anyone tell me I smell, but I'm sure they will. It's just in the winter, if you shower once every 3 days, even once every other day, it's fine.
Yeah.
But here, I go outside for 5 minutes. I'm in a sauna. I got to be showering. I'm sweating more in the summer.
It was one of the hottest days ever in New York, right? I read it on the news. Is that recent?
I was away in Spain having my luggage stolen by some Spaniards. But yes, I wasn't here for it, but it was hot.
And does New York cope better than other cities or not?
Dude, with the garbage in the street.
Yeah, rats.
And there's no air con, as we call it, in the tube or the subway, as we call it.
Yeah.
It gets real sticky gross.
I imagine that there are people on street corners just knocking out the hydrants and the water flying everywhere and people just dancing. Is that not happening all the time?
Maybe in the Bronx or Brooklyn. I know what you're talking about, like in the old time videos. Tony, what a pleasure it was having you on the show. Appreciate you, buddy.
Every time, David, never a crime.
Mwah! If you want to give your tomorrow self advice, all you have to do is call 1-888-505-6644 and record that advice. We'll follow up with you and you can sort of participate in our time machine, probably. It'll be fun. After the break, the science behind forgiving and forgetting. Turns out, when we forgive, we don't forget. But it shifts the memory. How? We'll talk to a neuroscientist and get an intimate portrait of what emotional fading is, episodic fading, how your brain processes the noble act of forgiving.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
At Sierra, discover top workout gear at incredible prices, which might lead to another discovery. Your headphones haven't been connected this whole time. Awkward. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
We're here because your heightened awareness deserves heightened entertainment. The last show with David Cooper.
They say forgive and forget, but the science says that's not quite right. My guest today, a psychology and neuroscience researcher at Duke University, whose research shows that forgiveness doesn't erase the memory of something bad that happened. It just changes how we feel about it. From petty grudges to major wrongs, the brain science of letting go. That's what we're here to chat about with Gabriela Fernández-Miranda. Gabriela, welcome in.
Thank you so much for having me, David.
Let's get to the heart of your research. When someone says, I forgive you, what happens to the brain? Or do we rewrite the past? Do we change the emotional soundtrack? Let's talk about this.
Okay, yeah, that's very interesting because you are mentioning like when one says, I forgive you, but that has like some process behind, like until you get to the point of forgiving, right? So you would say, some people say exactly that, like forgive and forget, but that doesn't seem to be the case according with what we have found in our research, right? What we see is that the memories that we have, like of our wrongdoings, do change, but they don't change in terms of like we forgetting like the characteristics of those episodes. So we actually do remember, I don't know, the specific details. So we remember the people that were around, we remember the objects, but our emotions do change. And that's what would be different in terms of like not only what I tell to you, like I forgive you. So that's a way of expressing that my emotions towards you have changed, but it also represents like actual changes in the body.
So it should be more forgive and remember, but with the memory changed, rather than forgive and forget.
Exactly. That's what we would say.
Your study shows that people don't forget the facts, but what shifts is sort of emotional pain. Is my understanding correct there?
Yes. So what happened is basically that when you experience a wrongdoings, you have like really bad feelings, especially if that's like very hurtful, right? So you feel very negatively. You also have like very strong, very intense feelings. So that can be like anger, sadness, and that makes you feel really bad. It can be the case that after that, whenever you remember that wrong, you also feel those feelings. And that is usually related to not having forgiven the perpetrator, right, of the wrongdoing. However, it seems to be, according to our research, that when you forgive, those emotions change. So the emotions associated with this remembering moment, when you bring to your mind the memory, are just different. So you don't feel any those like negative or intense feelings anymore. So let's say like the anger is less strong, the sadness is less strong, but you still remember the things. You know what happened. That's what you mentioned about the facts, right? It's not that they go away.
I am in a long, protracted fight with my older brother. I mean, sometimes I don't even remember what started it like 13, 14 years ago. But the pain of it is kind of faded, and I don't know that I've forgiven him or he's forgiven me. Are there two kinds of fading of this pain? One over a long period of time, and then one kind of dramatically when someone forgives you and it fades?
Well, that's a great question. And it's also a difficult one, right? Because it might be the case that I did something, like a specific thing wrong to you. Like, let's say that, honestly, infidelity is the big example that a lot of people use, right? So I learned that this happened and that was very painful for me. And then you have like a specific memory there. Like I know what happened, and there's a memory that I can actually bring to my mind. And the emotions when I remember that instance change.
Would an example be like if your partner cheated on you or an ex-girlfriend or boyfriend cheated on you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a perfect example. And let's say that when you find out about it, like you're angry and the emotions are really strong, and then over time that can change. So maybe, I don't know, 10 years after that, you remember that moment and it's like, it doesn't feel that bad anymore, right?
Yeah.
What you are mentioning, it's a little bit more complicated because it's like a long-term fight. You actually even mentioned, like, I don't even remember when this started, and probably that's not right.
There was one episode where I got in a big fight with him 12 years ago, but it was so long ago, you know?
Uh-huh.
It's like I remember what happened, but I don't care. But I cared so much in 2012 when it happened.
But let me ask you, do you remember what happened?
Yes.
Like if you tried...
Vividly.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. But yeah, I think that all of us have that kind of experience. And thank you for bringing like your example to the case. But yeah, basically, maybe you are not willing like to restart a regular relationship with him, but for what you tell me, it seems to be that you don't feel exactly how you felt at that moment. So I would also say that forgiveness is not like a yes and no experience. It's more about like being more forgiving or less forgiving.
Gradually over time.
Exactly. And it can also be that there's like a long time and your emotions don't change, even if the period is so long. So that's complicated because there's a lot of variability, like between different subjects. Yeah.
So that's the kind of like long-term, little bit over time, emotions fade. What about if something dramatic happens, like an ex cheats on me, and then a year later I get a forgiveness letter?
Okay.
Would I ruminate less if that happened to me?
Well, that's another thing. And it's like, it seems to be that when you are asked for forgiveness, like a person actually recognizes the harm she or he did, and they like ask you to forgive them for that, it's much more likely for you to forgive them, right? Because you actually feel that they regret and they kind of understood what happened. But it doesn't guarantee that you are going to actually forgive them. But it plays, let's say, an important role in how forgiveness works.
So let's go more specifically to your research. What were some of the takeaways from what you did?
Well, so basically, I would say that there are like two main things. The first one is indeed that when people remember those episodes, those specific wrongdoings, they actually still remember the event. So they are able to think about the objects that were around, the people that were around, how they were feeling at that moment, but they kind of distance themselves for those emotions. So that's what I felt when the event occurred. And this is how I'm feeling right now. And how I am feeling right now is less like intense and less negative. However, we still have the episodic details. And when I say episodic details, I mean like the particular details of the episode. We remember when we bring them to mind. What I would say is that specifically that's the big takeaway of the research. But we also found that this change in emotions has an impact on the way that we act towards the wrongdoer. So maybe the way in which you act towards your brother or towards your ex-girlfriend, so that you have like less willingness to take revenge, or like to be avoidant towards them, or that you also like that you want to be more, let's say, good towards them, or like desire the better for them.
Is there such a thing as too much forgiveness? Like, should I try to apologize once and then let it sit and set proper boundaries? Or if there's someone I wronged, I should be asking for forgiveness every time I see them?
Well, the thing is, like, the small difference there is that one thing is asking for forgiveness. And I think that depends a lot on like the boundaries the person like makes. But the other thing is actually forgiving, like you are forgiving this other person. And I would say that in both cases, there are limits, particularly in forgiven. When you are in risk, it's better not to do.
Well, Gabriela Fernández-Miranda is a psychology and neuroscience researcher at Duke University. Gabriela, I've enjoyed the chat. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
After the break, something a little bit fun. The recent NBA draft was last week. So we will have special NBA draft fashion correspondent on, a comedian, to discuss not what players were picked and why, but instead their ridiculous, fun, and sometimes awful fashion choices. This is going to be a laugh.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
Amazon One Medical presents Painful Thoughts.
I've been on hold to make a doctor's appointment for 23 minutes now. The automated voice has told me 47 times that my call is very important to them. I'm starting to think that they don't think my call is important at all.
With Amazon One Medical 24/7 virtual care, you'll get help fast without having to remain on the line to make an appointment. Amazon One Medical. Healthcare just got less painful.
Taste the forbidden fruit of knowledge. The last show with David Cooper.
The first round of the NBA draft took place on June 25th, and we are joined by special NBA draft correspondent Natalie Norman, not to discuss the players, not to discuss anything to do with the sport, but the fashion of the athletes. Natalie is a Toronto-based comedian. Natalie, welcome in, special correspondent.
Thank you. I am a special correspondent because this is my new passion project.
What athletes wear when they're being drafted?
No, what NBA players wear, period. My boyfriend has tricked me into becoming a pick-me girl by luring me in by the fashion of NBA players.
Okay, point of order here, and I'm going to show my cards as an idiot. What is a pick-me girl?
A pick-me girl is like a girl that does everything for men and like hates other women. And like, I'm obviously not a traditional pick-me girl, but for him, I am like, oh, let's go watch basketball. Pick me, pick me.
Oh, I see. So you just like, you add to your list of hobbies man things in the hopes that some man will like you.
Yes. And my boyfriend already likes me and he's convinced me to like basketball. So I feel like a pick me girl because I am into it now and it's annoying.
But you've done it well. You've carved out an area of basketball as a niche that you can enjoy. And that's the outfits of the players when they're not on the field, on the court, on the ball, doing the ball.
So this is what you need to know. Is that before a game, especially the playoff games, there's like a hallway. It's like a hallway to the locker rooms, and there's always photographers there, and they take pictures of the NBA players walking down these hallways as if it's a runway. And then there's a few like TikTokers, Instagrammers who post the outfits. And this is how my boyfriend lured me into it.
Wow!
Because smart man. He was like, I know she likes fashion. And he started feeding it to me. And now I just follow it religiously because I love their outfits are sometimes outrageous, sometimes beautiful. And I have opinions. I have real opinions on these men.
Well, let's get to that. And I'm not trying to brag. I do know a thing or two about basketball. And here's a little insider secret. The players are freakishly tall. So clothes fit them oddly, I imagine.
No, they're like, to me, NBA players and WNBA players are perfect models.
Oh.
Because like fashion clothing is actually made for them. It's made for taller men, taller women. They're slender, they're athletic. These are the perfect models. And it's a free runway almost every night.
Okay, so what are some of the things you see when the players are doing their catwalks?
Okay, well, there's some that really stand out, but like everyone tries to have their own unique flavor, and some of them just fail. And they're always the NBA players are definitely wearing like high-end clothing. The WNBA is slowly following along. But here's where it got really hard for me is the draft. I happened to go to a restaurant in Toronto and they were playing the NBA draft, which is very weird that I stumbled upon this.
Okay. So, and what did you see?
So the first draft pick this year was a guy named Cooper Flagg. He's a white guy. He's about, I think, 7 feet tall. He's like the whitest of white men. And he was wearing this navy suit that I can only describe as atrocious. Like it really hurt my feelings and my eyes. Like they had talked about how he was going to be the first NBA draft pick. And this is what he showed up wearing. And I later found out, like, to me, it looked like a Mr. Big and Tall. You know that store, Mr. Big and Tall?
I don't, but
it's a store for big and tall people. And I think the suits have no names. Like it's just tall and big and like bland. And he looked like he was wearing a knockoff from there. It was so bad. And it was like a vest and then a jacket. And the vest and the vest and jacket combo gave like double polo look. Do you remember the double polo era?
No, but keep going. I'm fascinated with this take.
Oh, early 2000s, a lot of people would wear two polos. So you had two polo collars like propped up. And it was like really cool for some reason. And that's what it reminded me, but like near his belly. And then his pants seemed too short. And I looked up like who gave him this suit? And it happened to be Hugo Boss, which as we know, who did they dress? Okay. So if you don't know, they are the big dressers of Nazi Germany.
Yeah, but those uniforms, the political views, genocide, all that stuff we don't like. But the Nazis, those uniforms were well designed for their era.
No, they are still well designed today. They were clean cut, great. But they were beautiful. I'm sorry, they were beautiful. I can say this as a Jew.
Yeah, to anyone listening, we are Jews. We're not a fan of World War II Germany, but the suits were well designed. We got to hand it to them.
That's what was so hard about it. The people that were destroying us were dressed well. You know what I mean? In an ideal situation, they would be dressed hideous, but they were dressed well. But it does we have this white player who's the first NBA pick. And yes, apparently he's talented, but he's wearing this German brand. And that gives a lot of white supremacy, if you ask me.
It's a weird take. I'm not sure anyone agrees with you, but I will say this. Dressing badly for your draft when you're the top pick is a disrespect to the fans like you who aren't in it for the game.
I got to tell you, other people, like every other pick dressed at least interesting, beautiful clothing, tailored color. He's also really boring. Anyways, I know we have limited time, but I feel so passionate and there's more things to say, but they're too offensive for this podcast.
Got it. It's a radio show. That's also a podcast. If you want to download it, just check out details of this show at lastshow.pizza. That's not.com. There, I plug the show. Okay. Any other players, maybe ones that didn't dress so atrociously that stood out to you?
Yes, but I don't know his name. And but I can tell you what he was wearing. He was wearing a double-breasted suit jacket with shorts. He was wearing shorts, like long suit shorts and loafers with scrunchy socks. And a lot of men were commenting like, oh, this is so bad. This is gross. That to me, he was dressed impeccably and should have been given the number 1 NBA draft pick solely on that outfit.
When my brother got married, he had a white tux with black. I think the pants were black, but the tux jacket was white. And he bought 2 pairs of the pants and he had a tailor create the second pair into shorts. And so at the end of the night, when everyone was dancing and wasted and enjoyed the wedding, he changed into the same tuxedo pants that he had been wearing, but in short form. And his husband had a matching pair and the two of them were in tuxedos with tuxedo shorts. And it was a great look. And I like this look and I'm +1 on it.
That's adorable. And I think all of us should be wearing pleated shorts, Bermuda shorts. They're the short of the season.
Short of the season. You heard it here from NBA special fashion correspondent Natalie Norman.
I got to tell you, it's literally a dream job of mine.
Would you want to be an NBA player stylist in another parallel universe as a career?
No, I want to be the Joan Rivers of the NBA fashion.
You think that Entertainment Tonight should have a Joan Rivers style show commenting on player fashion and you should host it?
Yes, of course. We're still commenting on women's fashion and bodies. No, it's man's time. They deserve the criticism. They're not doing it well. I'm here. She's dead. I'm alive. Let's move on from Hollywood. Let's move on to the NBA. They make just as much money, and fashion designers have a real good chance because they've got good models.
I ship this television show on E! Natalie Norman's sport fashion commentary. Leave the women alone. Dig into the men in those cutting deep Joan Rivers kinds of way. Create a whole generation of men with body dysmorphia by being so mean.
I didn't say I'm not commenting about their bodies. I'm commenting about their fashion choices.
Fair enough. I mean, I love Joan. She's like my favorite comment, but she did not do great things for people's own body images when she was on that show.
Yes, but she did an amazing thing for the fashion industry, which was make them relevant to the general population, which didn't exist before.
All right. You have earned your title as special NBA fashion correspondent.
Just crazy.
Natalie, you are a stand-up comedian. Any shows coming up that you want to tell people about?
Yeah, I have a show this Saturday at Comedy Bar West at 10 p.m. I don't know the name of the show, even though, it's Standout Comedy.
You don't know the name of your shows. You don't know the name of the players. You don't know left. You don't know right.
It's called Standout Comedy, 10 p.m. I'm on it. Amazing comedians are on it. This Saturday, July 5th, 10 p.m.
All right. That's in Toronto at Comedy Bar West. Well, I really screwed this up. We got about 20 seconds on the clock that I mismanaged the time, which is typical of someone who's as professional as me. I've talked about it for 5 seconds, but we got another 10 seconds here. So thought of the day, Natalie, it's all on you.
We should all strive to dress better.
We should all strive to dress better, he said slowly and dramatically. And just like that, Natalie Norman, comedian. You can find her online at Stalking Natalie. That's STALKING on whatever social media platform you use. Natalie, always a pleasure.
Always.
After the break, things get sexy with a sexual health communicator as we talk about a phrase that gets thrown around in the name of sex positivity, but that I find gross. The phrase, "Don't yuck my yum." Ugh. I'm David Cooper. That's up next. This is The Last Show.
This episode is brought to you by Pluto TV. Summer of cinema is here, and Pluto TV is exploding with thousands of free movies. Feel the explosive action all summer long with movies like Gladiator, Beverly Hills Cop, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, Good Burger, Stealth, Four Brothers, and Star Trek. Bring the action with you and stream for free on all your favorite devices. Pluto TV. Stream now. Pay never. Stream now at pluto.tv.
It's time for Sex Etc. with Samantha Bitty. This is The Last Show with David Cooper.
Whoa. Look at that. Theme music. Samantha Bitty is here, sexual health and consent educator. It's nice to have you on the show, Samantha.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for my new intro music. I feel like I'm doing this in Blade Runner.
I also feel like we're doing this in Blade Runner. Funny enough, that's the next movie in the queue that I want to watch with, what's his name?
Ryan Gosling?
Ryan! I was going to say Ryan Reynolds. That's a different Ryan. It's hard to keep track of Ryans these days.
Mm-hmm. Ryan Gosling is from somewhere, Ontario.
Ryan Gosling from somewhere, Ontario.
Yeah, I can't remember. I don't want to speak the wrong city because in my mind I'm like, oh, he's from Toronto. He's not from Toronto, but he is from Ontario. Ryan Gosling is Ontario born.
To the rest of the world, anywhere in Ontario is Toronto. Like I've met people abroad and then they don't know I'm Canadian. And I'm like, where are you from? They're like, Toronto. And then I'm like, oh, I'm from there too. And they're like, oh, I'm from somewhere 7 hours away. I feel like that's when you're away from home, everything's Toronto. And I know everyone in Toronto is listening to this and is angry that I said it.
It's the truth, though. I just feel glad that I actually do because then I'm living authentically.
Good.
And expressing my location. Well, I disclose to everyone where I live.
Authentic living. Your exact address, buzzer code, postal code, all of it. We'll get it later. Okay, let's start here. I was chatting with someone the other day who was particularly into adult comics. Like cartoons, like what do you call it? Like anime, but porny anime. And someone in the group, not me, someone in the group made a face and they said the following phrase, "Don't yuck my yum." And immediately I thought that phrase is so yucky. In theory, I agree with it. Like, don't poo-poo other people's things that they're into as long as they're not hurting anyone. But on the other hand, I'm like, the word yucky is such a gross, infantile word. I can't deal with it.
I want to say that the phrase originated with, or at least was popularized by Dan Savage, right? Who is one of those, like, I'm going to call it retro, even though that's mad disrespectful because it's literally like 20 years or whatever. But like, you know, Dan Savage is Dan Savage as it relates to like sex and relationship columnists, advice, like risque, you know, not conventional takes, et cetera, et cetera. And, you know, I definitely cut my teeth a little bit on Dan's columns and podcasts or whatever.
Savage Love and Savage Lovecast. I'm not sure some of his takes by 2025 standards work well anymore, but back then he was like it.
Yeah, and I mean the same thing can be said of our girl Sue Johansson, right? Where it's like, okay, for like the time and where they were and where we all were and blah 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 blah. It's like, yeah, it doesn't hold up, etc. However, they still were who they were, and you know, credit where credit is due. I know that the first time I ever heard that phrase, "Don't yuck my yum," was from him, and it icked me out then, and it icks me out now. Like I don't. Are you telling me though that for you the icky part or the yucky part is the like infantilizing language?
Yes, and I know some people find infantilizing language sexy, and power to them. I just, for example, my girlfriend has a trigger word. If I say it when we're intimate, it does not work for her, and it's the word panties. You say the word panties around her when things are getting intimate, like, oh, nice panties, that's it, she's done. We'll try again in a few hours. The word yuck and yucky for me kind of has that same visceral, like, you know, in my chest, cringing. What's the reaction that I have from that?
I think it's so fascinating to me what our words are that sick us out, and it just like, you know, junk is no longer in the story. Like it used to be a game I would play at parties, like asking people, you know, what their preference was for body parts and which, you know, things like that. And the word panties has come up before with someone in terms of it being like their icky word. What's interesting to me about you, yucky being the part that you don't like about the phrase, for me, it's the yum.
Oh, I don't mind yum as much as yuck.
Like referring to what I'm into as my yum. Bleh. Like I just find that
that's for chicken wings and maybe you know.
Yeah, or like even yummy in general. Like if my like if I'm with someone and they're talking about, you know, my body or being with me in some way, I don't enjoy, and this is personal preference, food language. Like saying that something is delicious or being like, "Oh, you have such a yummy body." Like,
no, thank you.
It just doesn't, I don't know why. And I don't police it in others. Like, I'm not like, don't say, like, I'm not activated by it. But I definitely, like, if someone says I have like a delicious, I know you changed the time slot of this show. So I'm going to, I know there's words that I won't even go and allow you to bleep. But like, you can imagine, you know, being told that about certain body parts, I'm like, okay. Like, so
delicious, delectable. Yeah, I get it. And it's so funny because some people like to bring food into the bedroom. Like whipped cream is the classic Hollywood example. Side note, I'm not into that. It's too sticky. Sugar is gross. I don't want the syrupy stuff on my body. No, thank you.
Someone I'm still dating, on our second date, he brought whipped cream to my house. And I just put it in the fridge. I was like,
it's for literal dessert.
I'm going to eat this at a later date. Like, what were you thinking? Like, I can only use like Dove sensitive soap. what are we like? Please be for real. That's like, no.
What alternate phrase could we use? Because I think it's a great concept. Again, like if your fetish, if your kink, or if what you're into doesn't hurt anybody, or the people being hurt are consenting about it and it's within certain limits, fine, great. Who cares? But the phrase, don't yuck my yum, in concept, what is a good replacement phrase?
You can just say like, don't kink shame me, don't sex shame me, don't slut shame me, whatever the context is, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about shaming or judging or, assigning meaning. I much rather someone be like, don't kink shame me.
So we're yum on kink shame and we're yuck on the phrase, don't yuck my yum, is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
Kink shaming, it's got a real chilling effect. Like, when you're around friends and they're being open about what they're into, and then you just very quickly like say that they're gross. This is not a good way to be as a person, I think.
In general, okay, so even us having this conversation about this phrasing and being judgmental of this phrasing, I'm very much doing it from a posture of like, this is my personal preference, my personal language preferences. As a sex educator, as a consent educator, I invite people to use the language that feels good for them, so long as it's in the spirit of respect. That said, we can all have our own personal proclivity, preferences, etc. I would encourage people that instead of being judgmental of something initially, like based on our first reaction or our first response, to practice curiosity. Like, why is that a thing that you're into? Or like, what does it do for you? How does it make you feel? And like seek to understand before we're just like, ew, what the Sorry.
We're doing the very thing that we're criticizing by criticizing this phrase. We are being closed-minded.
That's what I'm saying.
But I make the exception. There are exceptions to every rule. We should be open-minding. We shouldn't shame our friends, in my opinion, unless they use this phrase, in which case I'm judging you. And I don't feel good about that, but I am.
And here I am, a whole human being. And when you proposed the topic, I was into it for the irony, like the irony of even discussing it. And what I'll say is, the same way if someone's like trying on an outfit and I'm not into it, I might be like, that's a look. It's not my look, but it's a look.
I always say that's a choice.
Choices.
We're here with Samantha Bitty. It's Sex, Etc. When we come back, what's in your bedside drawer that maybe you wouldn't want your friends to find? Or maybe you would want your friends to find?
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
You know that one friend who somehow knows everything about money? Yeah, now imagine they live in your phone. Say hey to Experian, your big financial friend. It's the app that helps you check your FICO score, find ways to save, and basically feel like a financial genius. And guess what? It's totally free. So go on, download the Experian app. Trust me, having a BFF like this is a total game changer.
Please be advised that the following program contains audio content that may be graphic and potentially triggering for some listeners. This content may include descriptions or sounds that some may find disturbing. Listener discretion is strongly advised. This is The Last Show with David Cooper.
We are back with Sex, Etc., joined by sexual health and consent educator Samantha Bitty. Samantha, welcome in.
Thank you.
Do I want to know what's in your bedside drawer? Maybe.
The response immediately in my mind to that is like, what isn't? In that, my apartment and my bedroom specifically has been described as like, if Barbie was a 70s sex worker, if it was like a bordello Polly Pocket, like it's a lot of like pink and costumes and like sex toys and just sex costumes and all sorts of things, not just from my professional life, but my, my personal and for fun life. And I have like a very, it's a very open, it's an open secret that I have sexual paraphernalia in the house. In terms of my bedside drawer, to be honest with you, all of the like sex stuff is out in the open. And then my bedside drawer is like expired Tylenol and like nail polish and like a pair of scissors and just like whatever nonsense I have out that I just like shove in the drawers that I don't want to be seen by whoever I'm entertaining in my room.
Mine is, a lot of like random documents, like tax forms from like 97.
Yeah.
Like, when you get a credit card and it comes with like a lot of paper and then you peel off the credit card and then there's all this paper, like I've never read it. What does it even say? What could they possibly need to tell me? The card's there and the number I need to call to activate it's on the card. Those are the kinds of papers in my bedside table. It drives my girlfriend crazy. But I go with sex toys wise, the basics. I'm a big fan of It Ain't Broke, Don't Fix It, the Hitachi magic wand. And a few years ago, I treated myself to a wireless one. That thing is heavy. That needs battery power that like could start a car, that thing. For those who don't know, it's like the platonic ideal of what a vibrator is. If you've seen a vibrator on the internet in a video, it's probably this one.
Mm-hmm. A retro classic.
I don't even think it's made by Hitachi anymore, but I think it's always going to be known as the Hitachi. They are the real innovators.
Not a sponsor of this show, though.
Not yet.
Okay.
Maybe that's what we're going for. So I have that. And then, not that I would ever disclose what's in my girlfriend's bedside drawer, because that would invade her privacy, but somebody else who's not her, one of those positive, negative air pressure toys. I believe the first one to market was was named not well. It was a German company. I don't think they did the Googling of what this word would mean, but it was originally called, my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, the Womanizer, which is just so sad that they chose to go to market with that name. But it was the first kind of positive, negative air pressure toy, predominantly meant for people with vaginas.
Well, clitori.
Clitori, plural. I suppose there's one or two people out there who, for whatever reason, have two. And it sort of is pressed up against that part of the body and very lightly or not so lightly does positive and negative air pressure. It's like a whole new class of toys. I think people think there's no innovation in this space, but this is like it's like what, 10, 15 years old, this toy?
I feel like maybe even less than that. The COVID years are such a blur. Like to me, I'm like, that was 5 years. Like, I don't know what happened during that time, but yeah, like suction toys, also known as to mimic suction, right? And it's such a fascinating thing because some people swear by them completely, are like, get yourself a suction toy. And then other people are like, that is the worst possible sensation for that part of my body. So there is and the same way with the wand or any vibrating or sex toy is that like everybody has different junk and what feels good for you is not just like entry level. Right? Like whenever someone asks me to answer the question of like, oh, what should I get as my like starter toy? And it's like, there isn't one answer. You have to kind of like do the research. But the thing that's really cool about and totally wasteful is that you can get demo toys of that particular toy. So it's kind of like a lower cost option made out of like more disposable materials. And it has a time window of how long it works for.
Oh.
So it's like you get like 25 minutes.
Wow.
With this toy. I was gifted one from a sex shop to be like, oh, here's a demo of this toy because these toys are expensive, right? It's like you're dropping several $100. You want to make sure it's something that you are going to enjoy. And I imagine they found it was like the cost was a barrier if folks couldn't assess like, oh, am I going to like this like suction toy? And so the one that was given to me had like 25 minutes on it. And what I'll say to you is that 25 minutes is a really long time in like literally 75-second spurts of usefulness. I learned that I don't like that type of toy.
Okay.
But I definitely tried it a number of times and I was like really grateful that I had this demo option of it.
So not the most green option because you're wasting plastic or whatever the material is, but it's like when I'm on an airplane and they hand out those disposable headphones. I'm just thinking all the billions of headphones that are just going to end up in the dump, but it's also a good thing to try before you dump tons of money into it. Can we just talk about the name? Because it's a German company and they must not have hired a marketing company, because I feel like they just could have Googled the word womanizer and how it gets used in the English language and maybe chosen a different name. What a regrettable name for a product, for a great product with innovative whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not a fan of the name. What do you think?
The reason I don't have an issue with it is because, I mean, obviously, like, messy, heteronormative, whatever, the notion that like a womanizer has like we have a negative connotation for it.
Sure.
It's like, oh, you're someone just like, you're a man who's like running through women, etc. The idea that a man who's running through women is very skillful is kind of the part where I'm like, well, I kind of get what they were going for if that was that intentional. And that, that women are seduced by this, by this toy. The social, cultural context, problematicness aside of it, I'm like, okay, I kind of see the train of thought around that.
Better a toy than some schmuck, I guess.
Yeah, depends. Summer, so
schmucks welcome. DMs are open, maybe.
Look, who am I?
I have one guest on my show who at the end of my interview, she complains about her dating life. And at the end, she's always like, well, my inbox is open. Yeah. Is a tidy bedside drawer sexy, or does that not matter to you?
I don't care.
Me neither.
Maybe I don't care because mine is not. There's so many drawers, closet doors, fridge. I don't want anyone looking inside of anything when they're in my home.
Yeah.
Like it's deep intimacy for me, for someone to look in my bedside drawer or to look inside my fridge or to look inside a cabinet, mostly because I hide all of my chaos behind closed doors. So it's like, you're welcome to all of the chaos that's out in the open, but this is why I have all the goodies out. So it's like, we don't have to navigate that. It doesn't even matter. It's like, yeah.
Yeah. That medicine cabinet, that's a real breach of trust. Someone lets you into their bathroom and you open that medicine cabinet. That's not cool, in my opinion.
I mean, it's all the more reason why, like, in my bathroom, I have everything anyone could need out in the open. Tampons, pads, extra toilet paper, extra soap. Like, there's no reason to go down there. So
don't do it. Don't open that medicine cabinet. That is a breach of trust. Don't be that kind of person.
I need to get those baby lock things for all of my drawers and doors and cabinets for when I'm hosting or entertaining.
Adult entertainment. All right, Samantha Bitty. What a pleasure it was having you on the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Samantha Bitty is a sexual health and consent educator. Coming up next, we've all heard about matchmakers, but how many people have actually used them, and what myths exist with matchmaking? Like, how bad are the clients really? How demanding are these people trying to get girlfriends and boyfriends of their matchmakers? Well, we'll have one on next to dispel these myths and discuss the life, the times, I don't know what other words, of matchmaking. We'll be back with that in a moment.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Exploring both interstellar and interpersonal space-time continuums. The Last Show with David Cooper.
I am here with a real-life matchmaker about what it actually takes to find love. No cake parties, no magic promises, just real people, real baggage. So what are these wild client requests that people get, emotional boundaries, and more importantly, what does Hollywood get hilariously wrong about matchmaking? I'm joined by Lucinda Luttrell. She's a senior matchmaker at Agape Machmaking. Lucinda, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, David. I'm excited to be here.
This movie, The Materialists with Dakota Johnson, there is a matchmaker portrayed in it. Do you want to give me the high level about this movie? And then we'll talk about some of these misconceptions or things that when we see matchmakers portrayed on TV are way off.
Yeah. So, Dakota Johnson plays a matchmaker. She's in New York City. She's, working with all different kinds of clients. And the one thing that I think is portrayed very well in this movie is sometimes the client expectations, the things that they come in with. They focus a lot on height. That definitely rings true. People come in and say, I need someone to be at least this height. I
hope it's 5'6", otherwise I'm offended. What about short kings? Okay, keep talking.
Yeah, exactly. I oftentimes have to remind people, like, the average height of an American male is 5'9", and it used to be 5'8", so we've gone up an inch. So, let's be reasonable with our parameters here. But also, looking at things from a more physical perspective rather than a values perspective. The movie was I felt like I needed Botox after because I frowned so much, if I'm being honest. It felt a little bit like I'm also Greek. It felt a little bit like watching my big fat Greek wedding, except everything was kind of the opposite of reality. Like I could not see myself in the portrayal of this matchmaker.
A little too stereotypical.
It was very empty. I felt it was empty. It lacked reality. The part about, people coming in and having certain expectations of, like, you're going to find me this person. Sure, that happens. But, the whole movie kind of, at least the matchmaking portion, kind of goes around this plot of there's an assault, right? And in the 9 years that I've been with Agape Match, thank God this has never happened, right? But the one thing that Lucy, the matchmaker, Dakota Johnson's character, does say is, like, dating is a risk, right? And it is a risk in many different fashions. You're putting yourself out there, whether it's online dating, whether it's through somebody you met through a friend or through a matchmaker, it is a risk. But what was astonishing and appalling for all of us matchmakers who saw this movie was that in the movie, Lucy gets upset that this occurred, and she runs to the bathroom, and she has this little tiny notebook, this little tiny red notebook where she jotted down 5 things about this person. And we take an egregious amount of notes. And to us, we were just, like, flabbergasted. And to that point, the response to what occurred was so minuscule. Like, we have clients who will go out on a date and check their email, and we have more of a visceral response to that than the characters in the movie did over something so huge, right?
Sure.
So it was tough. It was a tough movie to watch in many aspects. The one thing that I felt really lacked was that Lucy did not have the emotional bandwidth, emotional maturity that I feel you need as a matchmaker. You're trying to help people, match on intangible things, not material things. And it just wasn't there.
So, stepping away from the movie, what does a real-life matchmaker actually do? Is it anything like what people imagine? I've never used one. I don't know much. I'm pretty naive when it comes to this. So, walk me through some of the things that you do that people don't realize.
Yeah, so we do extensive vetting. We do spend hours and hours, countless hours getting to know our clients, even before they become a client. And then after the fact, we get to know them even more. We spend a lot of time, kind of digging deep into, well, why do you feel this way? And why do you feel your match should be this way? And, in turn, we meet people based on the kind of loose criteria that they give us. And from there, we let's say for one client we might meet 10 potential matches for one client and maybe only 1 or 2. So there's a lot of work that goes on in the back end.
How picky do people get? You've ever had a client come in with a checklist that looks like a hostage negotiation? Like, how picky can people get?
People get picky. People get really picky. I mean, down to, we go back to height. We'll even have it from the male perspective of like, well, she can only be, 5 foot to 5'3". And I'm like, that's kind of tough, especially if you want her to also, have the same values as you, or the same lifestyle, or the same goals, family goals. When we limit ourselves, when we put ourselves into these small little boxes, we cut out a lot of potential.
How many marriages would you say you've had under your belt? Like, what's the success rate?
The success rate is so difficult. People ask us this all the time, and it's like some people just come to us and the success in their journey is going on a second date or learning how to take rejection well and realize it's not always about you. But we just had an engagement like this past week, which was super exciting.
Mazel tov.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic. And, we say like, about 90% of our clients enter a relationship that lasts a minimum of 6 months while they're with us, which is not too shabby, I'd say.
I agree. Do you get burnout? Like, I feel like you must be playing therapist and other functions that aren't part of your job description, or maybe they are for some clients. Like, some clients need help in a way where it's not just setting them up on a date, but it's actually like counseling them how to date and changes they can make, things like this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a delicate balance. We're not therapists, so, we have to tread lightly sometimes, but there's definitely a way to help people along, especially when it comes to self-sabotaging. I think that's one of the things that we see a lot.
Oh, that old friend.
Yeah, that guy, when they enter the chat, it's always like, oh, here we go. Yeah, there's definitely a balance. It's a delicate one.
Do overachievers, people who are so career focused, or maybe really wealthy people, do they have a harder time finding love than the rest of us?
I think so.
Why do you think that is?
I think that our focus, that the focus of people is different. If you're career driven and that's your focus, you sometimes forget to take a step back and look at that part of your life. That's a lot of people come to us and say, I'm 45 years old. I've never been married. I don't have children. I want all of those things. All my friends are married. They have kids. I just focused on that aspect of my life, and here I am.
Tell me, if someone is really ready and really looking for love, what's one piece of advice, in all your experience with all the matches you've made or been involved with, what's one piece of advice to give to someone like that?
Be vulnerable, put yourself out there and communicate. I know especially men sometimes feel like, oh, if I communicate or if I'm vulnerable, I might not look cool, right? Or, there's a stigma that goes with it, and
Sure.
Forget about that. That's not real. Be vulnerable, put yourself out there, accept rejection and take it in stride.
Accepting rejection gracefully. For me, I guess probably the main reason I have a partner is I know I'm not cool. Maybe that's why I'm in love with my wonderful girlfriend, Miranda. You gotta drop the pretenses, don't you?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Be yourself, put yourself out there.
I guess who else could you be? Lucinda Luttrell is a senior matchmaker at Agape Machmaking. Lucinda, I have enjoyed the chat. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
After the break, things might get a little graphic. So sensitive listeners or parents with children, you'll want to be advised, but there is a surprising new study about men, body image, and camming. That is, men who consume adult entertainment with live webcam performers. There is a surprising finding that men who use these services, in some cases, feel better about their bodies. Let's dig in and also address some of the stigma attached with, consuming this stuff. That in a few moments.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644. Please be advised that the following program contains audio content that may be graphic and potentially triggering for some listeners. This content may include descriptions or sounds that some may find disturbing. Listener discretion is strongly advised. This is The Last Show with David Cooper.
There is a new, surprising study about men, body image, and camming. For the uninitiated, camming refers to live, interactive adult webcam sites where viewers can chat with performers, adult performers, if you know what I mean. Researchers have found that for some men, these platforms boost body confidence in ways traditional pornography consumption does not. What is going on behind the screen? Let's discuss that with social psychology researcher at Indiana University and research fellow at the Kinsey Institute, Dr. Jessica Campbell. Jessica, welcome into the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Let's start at the beginning here. Why did your team decide to study camming and men's body image? This, to me, is not the most obvious research combo.
Hey, you are not incorrect. It's super under-researched just in general, and we're referring to camming specifically. And we were interested in getting a better sense of what works in the camming space beyond the sexual gratification that we generally associate with camming. And with that in mind, we assessed men who use cam sites on a number of topics, including but not limited to their body image. And we found really compelling results, in my opinion, at least.
And for cam sites, to me, what's curious about it and what sets it aside from other adult entertainment is it's interactive. You know, you're talking to the performer. You're not just watching a pre-recorded video. And that certainly changes the dynamic between performer and person consuming the performance, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. There's some component of feedback. There's conversations that can center around sexual consent unexpectedly as well in this domain. It really does shift the narrative of just consuming the content like porn, as one typically would do. And it makes it this unique middle ground of transaction, right? Because somebody is purchasing something, but also intimate connection and potentially emotional connection as well.
And where there's intimate connection, there's things that aren't just like sexual gratification. There can be, it's often joked, and I don't know if it's true, but like sex workers can function as therapists or people to help someone boost one's body image confidence. That's where this research comes in.
Absolutely, yes. And you're correct on both accounts. What we found in this paper that's really compelling is a small but strong minority of the men who participated in this research reported that they actually felt more comfortable with their bodies when they used cam sites. And there are a number of reasons why that seems to be the case, but that's not typically what we hear. That's not typically what we would even expect in this space. And I think the relationship with a cam model directly seems to have a strong impact on that bodily perception that men have.
You say it's a small number, but 1 in 5, that's kind of big.
Yes.
It's statistically significant. Did I use that phrase right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And when we think of why people might consume this media, it's not like to feel better about themselves in that way. At least that's not my assumption.
No, it's interesting because, again, there is a purpose for these websites. It tends to hinge on the sexual connection component, which is valid and great. But to see that there are other supportive avenues related to utilizing campsites is exceptional, particularly in contemporary society, where there is a significant and serious loneliness epidemic that is especially prevalent amongst men. And so if there are these resources for deeper support and deeper connection, why not explore them?
It just seems like, and I know this is going to sound judgmental, but it seems like an odd place for connection and an antidote for loneliness to come up, at least to me.
Yeah, and that's very valid. This is not something that I think most people are seeking out. I think there was a study in 2019, only about 18% of men have willingly reported using cam sites. And so again, here we have a little bit of a minority. This is a 1 in 5 situation again, approximately. And so I don't think that this is something that the mainstream audiences are flocking to and saying like, what else can I get here? But those who are already engaging in those spaces do have some positive consequences related to this sphere.
So let's talk about those positive consequences. What does it mean exactly for one to feel better about one's body? Is the presumption here is that I don't feel great. Maybe I don't like the way I look, don't like the way I look naked.
Yeah.
I go on these sites and I start to feel a little bit better about myself. Like what would that look like and more specifically?
Yeah, that's a great question. So really what we saw most commonly amongst these men is that they reported the feedback they received from the models made them feel better about themselves. And so there is an awareness amongst the majority of these participants that this is transactional. They recognize that they are paying the model to interact with them directly in this regard. And yet there's still a sense of feeling good about the self. Beyond that, there is the exposure to a wide variety of body types amongst the models specifically. And that helped to broaden many of the men's perception of what is beautiful, what can be attractive. And I think more generally speaking, if we're considering Western North American culture, there is a normative discontent with the body. And what that means is it's usually studied amongst women, right? Like you need to be a specific weight, you need to look a certain way, but men experience that as well. And so having any sort of direct feedback with regards to how they're showing up, what they look like, especially if it's positive, that can be really affirming in a general sense.
The models on these cam sites having a wider, what's the word I'm looking for? A wider distribution of body types. Is this because anyone can sign up, like any amateur person? You don't have to be a professional pornographer or whatever.
Exactly.
Like my friend, if they were so inclined, could sign up and get on the website. Is that the reason there's so many different body types on there?
That, and also there are a lot of different interests. People have different types in general, and as such, there's, you are likely going to fit somebody's type. So if you're interested in getting into this space, you would likely have people who are interested in what you bring to the table.
Is there a way for, let me think about how I want to phrase this, for this interactive component where someone viewing the videos and someone performing and the person viewing perhaps paying, that interactivity, or is there a way for the two to see each other? Is that part of this?
Yes. So in the work that we were doing, the site that we were interacting with, there is a cam-to-cam feature. And so the client can see the performer, and in some instances, the performer, the model, I should say, can also see the client. And so that changes the dynamic dramatically. And the feedback that the models are giving to the clients can build that sense of self-esteem, or at how we're referring to it as bodily comfort.
Interesting. So even though the person knows they're paying this model perhaps to be complimentary, it still helps them with their body image.
Absolutely, which is interesting. Again, the vast majority of the respondents said, we understand we are paying these women or these models in various capacities, and still it helped them feel more confident in themselves and more comfortable in themselves.
There is a lot of stigma around men, or anyone really, using cam sites. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that people judge others for being on these sites, be they performers or people who are the clients or the ones consuming the performance?
So interestingly, a separate line of research that we did in this arena, we found that people often stigmatize camming more harshly than other types of sex work. And this is true even in the people who are participating in the camming. And I think that there is a component associated with really core needs that are getting met in this domain. Intimacy and close connection is so fundamental to human experience that I think it is challenging that norm of how we engage in that space. And I think that just because it's different doesn't mean it's inherently negative. And that's something that we should keep in mind in how we approach connection, especially with the increase in loneliness that we're seeing in today's modern day.
And I'm sure there are downsides and negative things that come up in this space, but there's also upsides like your research shows. So we shouldn't judge other people.
Exactly.
Oh, look at that. We landed on something nice. What a delight it was to speak with Dr. Jessica Campbell, a social psychology researcher at Indiana University and research fellow at the Kinsey Institute. Jessica, thank you again. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
That's our program. Thanks so much for tuning into it. Don't forget the last show is available as a podcast. Just head to www.lastshow.pizza. That's lastshow.pizza, not .com. And there you can find out more details. I'm David Cooper. This was, well, it wasn't the first show. We'll be back tomorrow.
Big Brother is back.
Let's freaking go!
This summer, the game gets hotter, the alliances get trickier, and the blind sides brutal.
Just a roller coaster of backstabbing and craziness.
New house guests, new twists, same epic drama.
Bro, I'm gunning for you. You're my #1 target.
Who can you trust when everyone's watching?
Game on, baby.
Big Brother. New season Thursday, July 10th on Global. Stream on Stack TV.